Hi, this is Paranormal Encounters, and I'm your host, Brenda McGee. I have Patti back with me. Patti, thanks for being here.
Thank you for having me again.
I loved your stories. I loved how you described things because, you know, the studio audience, they do love to hear the different things that people experience. And so I'm going to give you the floor, and you can
keep on with the stories.
Keep on with the stories, because everybody experiences something different. And that's why one of the main reasons why I did this show is to get people to see the different types of things, how people do different things, and I just love it.
Nice. I was asked to teach doing the house clearings and working the house clearings, and I'm one of those people that whenever I have to teach that, I have to like double check, triple check, take another class, check how everybody else is doing. So one of the things that was very interesting that I did with this before I taught it, the first time I went to Arizona, to Phoenix, Arizona. James Van Praagh was doing a thing at the Orpheum, and he was doing Ghost Whispers. It was called Ghost Whispers Weekend, and he taught classes on this and some of the things that I've talked about. But at the end of it, we got to do work clearing the Orpheum Theater in Phoenix,
neat.
Which was really wonderful. But what I thought was so beautiful about it is most of the work that he did and most of the things that he said and the way the whole thing went down was almost exactly how I did it. So it lets you know that there are energies around us that are guiding us, because I did this all from my heart, and just the fact after that happened with my cousin, the story that I had told you the last show, after all those lights went up into the universe, it did something for my heart when you release these energies. It's got such a fulfilling feeling. No different than if you're doing the mediumship, when you connect with somebody that really needs that healing.
Right.
You know, it's the same type of feeling.
Right.
But I still needed that. I always want to make sure if I'm teaching people, when I'm doing it myself, I have the confidence in that spirit's leading me correctly.
Yeah.
But when I'm teaching other people, I want to make sure that I have as many tools to give them in their toolbox as possible.
Well, you know, because everybody does it differently. Like our team, we have a blessing team, and we do mainly like exorcisms and things like that of the home. And Steve, he does it like the Catholic way. We do the blessed oil, the metals, the blessed salt, and things like that. Mm-hmm. And he does all of that, where I'm more of the spiritual part of it, where, you know, they try to make you forget to bless a mirror because they can come back in. Mm-hmm. They try to make you forget the windows and stuff like that. But I do have to say, and we do Steve crosses the spirits and all, but I had an experience a couple of weeks ago where somebody that I knew had passed tragically. And this spirit came to me, and I wasn't ready for it, because they came so full force that it was too overwhelming. And I had called Larry, and I'm like, I need you to send me help, because, you know, I'm putting up as much protection. But then, like a week later, because I was like, no, he needs to do what he needs to do. And so the energy came to me of the person that had passed. And I was told by Spirit and Guide, you need to do automatic writing, which I usually don't do automatic writing, but once in a great, great while. But it was almost like, I'm like, all right, whatever you say. And so when I did that, I was getting the name, what they needed from me, and it was all. But I have to say, that was the most incredible thing that I ever experienced, because everything was like guided. And you're right, you have to give them that one person that they will go to in order for them, because they're scared. And I tell them the same thing. There is no hell. You're going to heaven. So you need to go into the light. And I promise you that this person will be there. And you're right. You have to give them that one person that they know that if they go into the light, that they can go to that person. And I'll tell you, it was so emotional for me, but beautiful at the same time.
Yes.
And I was able to give the person the paper to validate. And then when he went into the light, he said, peaceful. And then I said, what is your last message? He said, I love you. And I said, who is this message for? And he said, you.
Yeah. Oh, that gives me so many goosebumps.
I just hit my
myself.
mic.
I just hit my
Sorry.
mic too.
But so I wanted to say that it's amazing how we're guided different ways to do things, but it's the right way.
And I'm guided a little differently every time myself.
Yes.
Do you know what I mean? So even with what I have learned and what I have seen, I'm guided differently. And one of the experiences that I had, the Reiki lady that I told you was so fabulous with the Reiki, that says, thank you for letting me come even though I don't do anything. And I'm like, really? So anyway, we were in a house and there was an energy down in the basement. And the girl when she went to go to her washes, she felt very, very uncomfortable with. And we had some people that we later discovered in this area, they did have like an army fort or something like that. Wow. It was military type of thing. And it was really old military type of people. But one of them was trying to like date her, you know what I mean, type of thing. And he was, it was part of seduction type of thing that he was trying. Another one of the military men, like you were saying, I had to call, he had no family connections whatsoever, so I had to call his sergeant down. And his sergeant brought him up, and that worked out fine. But this other gentleman did not want to leave this woman, and she had a brown, overweight, Labrador retriever that was like all arthritic and everything, who hated going down the stairs because was creeped out and definitely sensed the energy, but didn't want her alone. So we were doing the work on different things in the house, and there were a lot of other, this is an old house that really had a lot of energy in it. And we finally downstairs, we get this, I usually like to start from the bottom up.
Yes.
So we go to get this energy up, and I only can get it to the first floor. I can't get it completely out, and I've never been stuck like this. So I turned to Kathy, the Reiki lady, and I turned to her and I said, do you have any ideas? And I had a little more novice crew than I take with me normally, but the girl's house was not novice to this, so I felt secure with it. So I turned to her and I said, do you have any ideas? She's saying, I think you're supposed to call in an angel. So that was the first time I called in Archangel Michael. And I saw this beautiful, beautiful, beautiful white and gold robe, like an off-white with gold in it robe, that was just laying on the ground. And all of a sudden he popped up very, very tall. And within seconds he had the energy lifted. But his presence made me cry. Now, I'm in a circle. I'm doing all the spiritual stuff. We got candles going. We got all this stuff going. And I'm sobbing like a baby. And he says, I love what you're doing, what you and your people are doing. And I cry some more. Of course. So now he does have a very humorous side to him. So all of a sudden, this arthritic, fat, oversized dog stands on its back 2 feet. I've got my eyes closed, and French kisses me to thank me.
Oh my gosh, that's hysterical.
For sending the energy up. So thank God I'm a dog lover, because I was like, I thought it was hysterical where one of them in the circle is going, oh, thank God that wasn't me. And so he gave that laughter too, and the laughter just raised even more of the energy out there. So again, it was another tool in my toolbox. And a lot of times I bring, as soon as something's stubborn, I immediately call him. And the second time I worked with him, right afterwards I left the place to a double rainbow. So I'm always given a beautiful gift, whether it's the tongue of a chocolate lava or a double rainbow. I'm always given a beautiful gift when he comes into work. With us, it's just incredible stuff.
That's amazing.
Yes.
Gosh, the experiences. Everybody tells me you should write a book. I said, I don't know, because not only that, but it's like you can write it, but then it becomes a chore, and it's like, I'd rather tell the stories.
Tell the story, absolutely, absolutely. And I do think I was a storyteller in a former life.
Probably.
Yeah, I have a grandson that I think the same thing.
Oh, really?
Yeah, that can tell stories. And I believe that someday he will take over my business.
That's amazing.
He's so evolved. I mean, newborn playing with energy to he sees ghosts and spirits, and he knows the difference.
That's amazing.
And I did have to laugh. My husband's aunt came to him, and somebody had called me and said, I think Auntie Joan is trying to tell something, driving me nuts. And I was too busy. I was sensing her around, but I was probably just shoo-shooing her.
Right.
And she was a very big-chested woman. And my grandson, I said, who came to visit you? He goes, a lady like you, Grandma. I said, oh my
I
God.
love it.
So he's very involved. Now, I also have a granddaughter that's older than that. That was the first one that she's going to, about 10 and a half. She, from very young, saw ghosts.
Yeah.
And so I taught her how to send them to the light and how to pray for them and send them to the light. And of course, ghost children tend to connect with her.
Yeah.
So she'd say, Grammy, I don't like sending them. And I said, they need to be with their mommy and daddy, just like you need to be with your mommy and daddy.
Right.
And she said, oh, okay. So one day I came home, and I keep my house very clear and very protected. But one day, the grandchildren's room has every toy in the world going off in this room.
Ah.
And I go in there, and I see a little girl about 6 or 7 years old, and I send her up to the white light. So my granddaughter comes over that night, and I go, did you leave me a present? And she goes, yeah. She goes, you found the little girl and you sent her up, but you skipped the little boy in the bathroom. You haven't got him yet. And I said, oh my gosh.
That's funny.
And it's incredible, the kids.
Now, can I ask you something? Because people always ask me that, and I want to hear your version of it. Everybody says, why would kids still be here? You know what I mean?
A lot of times they're attached to the house. They've had a violent death.
Exactly.
Over by Potawatomi, by Goddard Park, they have a center, a rehab center that used to be an orphanage that burnt down.
Okay.
Those souls didn't know where to go.
Of course.
I've gone to 2 or 3 different houses. The kids like to play in the attic.
Yeah.
And I've gone to 2 or 3 different houses and sent them up to the white light, but they don't really have any direction as to where to go.
And that's what I tell them. I said some of them don't even realize that they've passed.
Oh, a lot of them don't realize that
So
they
I said
passed.
that's what that part of the children is. They have no clue.
Yep.
They've passed young or tragically or whatever, and they have no clue.
My grandson, the brother of the girl, I thought this was hilarious. He's a Virgo male, he starts seeing them, so he's getting scared at night. So I go to him, I go, Devin, I said, don't be scared. I said, you can send them to the white light like your sister can. He goes, or I can walk over, hit the light switch, and they're gone. So that's how he handles it. Hit the light switch, and it's over.
Oh, my gosh.
So obviously he isn't into it. But one day we had all the grandkids over, and they were, one of my daughters lives in like a 200-year-old house.
Oh,
They don't now anymore, but they did over on Oak Lawn Avenue over in there. Those old, they look like mansions, but they've been made into apartments.
Right.
And they were chasing ghosts one day, and my husband goes, what are they doing? I said, they're chasing ghosts, but the difference in our family compared to the other family is there really is one they're chasing.
Oh my gosh, that's amazing.
So it reminds me of another fun story. The Warwick Historical Society is right on Historical Patuxent Cemetery.
Yep. Mm-hmm.
So they have a lot of action. So they were appeasing, I think, somebody that I knew and had them come in, and they decided they have the Patuxent Times where they do the article.
Right.
And this was right after I got told to no longer stay hidden, that I needed to stay out there. And we went to do a house clearing, and it was October, so it's a woo-woo, Halloween-y type of stuff. And they ended up, the name of the article was a whole different perspective on fall cleaning was, somehow something like that they worded it. I have the article at home. So we went in there, and that has to be the only one that I would say would be amazing enough that if we had taped it, I could have sold it to any TV station. It was like they had one of the antique wheels, and when we started to send the woman that some of us were seeing up there up, the wheel started actually turning.
Oh, wow.
We're saging, and if you use sage, you have to light it 100 times because it keeps going out. The sage was completely out. We put our hands 15, 20 seconds afterwards. The whole room was full of smoke. There was a lot of practical jokes going on.
Wow.
We were down in the basement, and we've got a circle, and we're doing a thing and cleansing the energy and stuff like that in there. and a mouse comes out, and it was warm that day, so even though it was October, it must have been like the summer thing.
Yeah.
I have sandals on. We all have sandals on. This mouse comes out, standing on its back feet, putting his hands like this and going crazy. And it was so funny. At the beginning, all I cared about is mouse. Do not step on my toes or come near me, right? The lady that ran it kept saying, we just had pest control here, and they said we didn't have anything. So I knew it was going to be a beauty of a trip because it was just crazy things. But getting back to the children, that up in the attic, every time we climbed up in the attic, every time we went to do something, the light bulb would burst.
Oh,
and they had never had it happen.
Right.
It kept bursting. And there were a group of boys that was their hide and seek place. And they didn't like us invading it at all as well. So it was such an interesting happening. And what ended up happening is a lot of those people started requesting house clearings that did it almost as a fun thing to do around Halloween. But those that were present, minds were blown.
Right.
They told the others, and the article, I'll have to find it sometime and show it to you because it was so respectful of what we do. It was really a beautiful article that was written.
Oh, that's nice, because sometimes they,
Yeah. And the article had my full name in it, so hidden in the top office was over after that. So,
I love it.
But it was the kid theme. It seems to run in batches with the kids stuff. So
that's so sad, though, when you think.
Yeah.
I mean, it's good that you're able to send them, but it's just so sad to think of. Like, people don't realize how many people are actually stuck, and they wait for the longest time. But I don't know if you've noticed, but the calls that are coming in with all of the, I don't know. I mean, I know, it has to do with the alignment of.
Oh, I'm sure. The planetary stuff. Yeah. I just got a new astrologer that's going to be starting with me, but and I know the basics of it, but I don't know a lot. But I read enough to know that there's an awful lot happening.
So much to do with that. I mean, I know a little bit, but nothing compared to.
And when you get the calls, you have to be careful because sometimes the people have other things going on with themselves psychologically that are happening, and it's not what they think's happening. Right. So you have to pull out your intuition, you have to call in your spirit guides and your loved ones, and you have to really put the situation, on some kind of a basis.
Well, I'm at to the point where it's like, I've had Father Bob Bailey on here, and they, give the prayers to the people and have them do it. I think I might start doing that, where let them take control, do the prayers, and if it doesn't work, then we'll come and do it, and help them out or whatever. But it's like you have to really empower these homeowners now and teach them, you can do the same thing. You don't have to. You know what I mean?
And if I can't get right there, I give them some instructions
well,
as
that's
to
what
what
I do.
to do.
A lot of times, we can do things without even having to go into the home. So we do that. We say, but like the other night, I was getting messaged because they were having all of this activity. And I said, okay. So I asked them for permission, and then I'll remote review, which is... You can go in, I'm telling the audience, that you can go in psychically, and you can review the home and see what you see in there. The first thing I saw, of course, was a Ouija board. So I asked them, did you do a Ouija board? I'm talking actually through a person to get to a person, a real person though. And they're like, yeah, and what happened was, just like I always tell them, they get you hooked, and then one person gets really hooked, and then they do it by themselves. Well, now they were seeing red glowing eyes. The activity was going crazy and stuff like that. So I kept saying, okay, well, I can't do anything until you get rid of that board. I want you to break it up into pieces, and I want you to bury it. You have to totally deform the board, and I want you to bury it. So they're like,
you have
okay.
them bury it instead of burning it?
Yeah, I like the burying thing, because sometimes you can release things. But people do it differently, so please don't.
No.
It's whatever preference it
I
is.
like to know.
We prefer to have it totally broken into pieces and then buried. And, I just got validated for that. So that's how I'm told. And so they're like, okay, it's done. I said, well, make sure you do that and let me know when it's done. And they're like, okay, yep, it's all set. I said, no, you still have the board in your home. I want you to tell me, because I can't do the blessings or whatever until you have that board physically out of there, because that shows me you're not going to use it again and you're going to take ownership for it. But it's like that's most of the things is the Ouija board. And no matter how many times, but I've been getting, literally every night, I have been getting calls of things that are happening, and
I told you I
almost
did too.
think that these spirits know that I'm going on vacation next week for a couple of weeks, and they're bombarding me all of this week.
Yep.
But it's becoming crazy.
I had two sisters that came to me, and they had the niece's house, and we did that. And we actually pictured the house, and we asked angels to clip the cords of anything connected to it. And we did this whole thing, and the niece was on speakerphone while we were doing this whole thing, because she was in New Jersey, so it isn't like we could just run there and go.
Right.
And has had terrific results.
Oh, yeah. It's all about intention and visualization and going, but they have to be totally open for it, because I tell them, we're going to go in, we're going to do this, but you have to make sure you're not going to continue to do that, because then they're going to come back with a vengeance.
Right.
So I don't know.
As I said, I have had very little dealings with lower energies, because I just...
Right.
It's just something that I've done, came into this earth with, something that I've done, or something that they've helped me do, which is a better story for it, that I've been very, very fortunate to come through. You know what I get a lot of, too, is I get... again, children, particularly teens that are just at that 12, 13-year-old stage, that are starting to see things, because along with their hormones is coming their ability to look through that veil.
Right.
And they're also very key in bringing home stuff to the family house.
Yes.
And I had this one house that I just thought was a beautiful story, because what happened is we taught the boy how to disconnect and clear his energy field, because he was bringing them home very empathic. He's a beautiful, beautiful soul.
Yeah.
But he was bringing them into the house, which was scaring the younger brother.
Of course.
So we worked with him, and he could understand it. He had a fascination with gravesides. He saw energy coming around. His heart would break for them when he saw the energy. So he'd bring them home to try to nurture them. So again, we taught him how to send them to the white light, to pray for them to go and bless them to go to the white light. But when I was in the house, one of the most beautiful things that happened, this gentleman, it was his children. He had a new wife, and his first wife had passed away, and she came there as spirit in the middle of the house clearing, which I've never really had that. It's usually there's very much of a division between, or I set the switches to work on one level and the other level. And the beautiful thing that happened was his wife came and blessed the marriage and let him know that she loved the new wife and how she was with their children, but said that it was breaking his heart that he had given up something. And I said, she's telling me to go down to the basement, and pointed to the closet. Now, the new wife's got tears running down because she knows what it is. He played the guitar, and he used to play her beautiful love songs. And when she died, he never sang again and never played music again. And she wanted him to do it, so he promised me that he would take the guitar out and play for her. And as I said, the new wife was so thrilled, because music, she knew him as their bigger circle of friends type of thing, not close or anything, but knew him in the bigger circle. And music was such a big part of his life, and singing. And I forgot what his career was, but he used to play in some small places sometimes and do keyboard or guitar and sing. And he had a beautiful voice that brought joy and love to other people as well as to himself. And he promised to take it out after that. So the son bringing the stuff home brought in us, and he ended up getting a message from his wife, and there wasn't enough thank yous for both of them.
That's beautiful.
That again, I know it was one of those experiences that you just turn around and it just circles around you and gives you the hugest hug in the world.
Rewarding. Very rewarding.
But a lot of people have come to me where they just come to the office with the teenagers.
Yeah.
And explain to them, and some of the verification, and then I'm able to tune into what they're connecting to.
Yep.
And it helps them because at 12, 13 years old, if you've been unaware that you've been able to do this prior, and all of a sudden this veil comes down, it's a very scary thing. And if a lot of times mom and dad can't do it because it came from grandma.
Exactly.
And so they don't have anybody to verify what they're doing. And it's it just makes the whole thing very turbulent. And the mom came to an open house at my shop, and she said, "Can I just ask you something aside?" I could bring them in. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Because these are our beautiful little light workers of the future.
Of course, and it's so important.
Yes.
Well, guess what, Patti? We're running out of time. I want to thank you for being here, and I'd love to have you back on.
Excellent.
So get some more stories under your belt. And I want to say, if you want to get in touch with Patti or have any questions about paranormal or anything, you can email me at paranormalencounterstv9@gmail.com. And thanks for watching. Thanks, Patti.
Thank you.
This is fun.